we've got that much left.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is no thought which is I. There is simply a gradient of accuracy oriented towards the infinite. The higher you are, the closer you are. The higher you are, the closer to you. But even the top of the gradient is just a product of you, not you yourself.
We didn't get anything.
Yeah, I know.
How do you know?
Because we live in Kentucky.
What do you mean?
I mean, there was no air open.
No.
Yeah.
This Taco Bell open. We almost got the taco, supreme taco, and supreme.
I don't think
burrito.
Taco Bell's open.
Yeah, it is.
I really don't think so.
Yeah, it is. We literally were about to order. It closed at 3:30.
Oh, really? What a weird time to close.
Anyways, we were going to, and then we were like, no.
Sure.
It's because we wanted a coffee drink, but McDonald's is closed. Wendy's is closed.
Yeah, they all are.
It's kind of gay.
It is. It's really gay.
Did you deal with that in Florida or no?
Yes.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought like big cities.
Nope. It's everywhere. It sucks.
It's ass.
You betcha. Okay. There is no thought which is I. There is simply a gradient of accuracy oriented towards the infinite. The higher you are, the closer to you. But even the top of the gradient is just a product of you, not you yourself. Interesting. It's basically just you. It's all frameworks in the end. It's not reducible to anything. Primeeater gradient on breathing. That's literally what I'm working on with the lizard. 100% gradient equals knowing there can be no true 100%. That's pure frameworks. The feeling of looking through the orb, i.e., the feeling that you are also everything else, which creates the separation. You don't attempt to separate, you attempt to connect with everything else. In the process, you feel yourself looking from somewhere else into this reality, among others. Great framework. Beautiful stuff. Your goal is to eat every moment fully, not to be appreciated. Appreciating moments retroactively, as represented by night biking. Inability to fixate on individual and must instead eat the change live. Night biking, I'm pretty sure what I'm saying there is that when biking at night, you miss the day, and when you're only biking in the day, then you don't even think about it being the daytime. You don't think about appreciating the day, and it's like you shouldn't need the lack of something to appreciate it. Um, you need to appreciate things live. You need to eat change live, and not fixate on individual. I don't know what that means. Um, Found three factors to split a day into. Oh yeah, this is what you heard earlier. Level of happiness, power, and insight. So let's say out of three tiers today, I was at happiness 2, power 2, and insight 1. Seems like Ashton was on insight 3 today, for example, giving Minecraft enchantment framework levels. Wondering, the dog just chased the cat down the stairs and out of the cat door. So that was hilarious. Giving Minecraft enchantment framework levels. LMAO pondering on the practicality of rating days. Maybe we'd find patterns and could reliably manipulate them.
It's weird that I would have said that twice because we didn't. We went over that in some other chat.
Yeah, we did. Okay, I'm gonna attempt to explain this. I'm gonna do a very poor job, very poor time. But I need to lay down a foundation. Because it appears me to lose my voice, and I need to set down a save point. So let's see. Essentially, the important parts of this particular framework is the last one had emphasis. So when you became the man who made decisions, when you became the man who chose, you were the man with the hunger, right? The man who wanted it all, who hungered after it all, right? We were getting issues where essentially we couldn't see how that mindset could continue after realizing that the self was simply a part of the infinite, because once the self gets dissolved, there's a particular affirmation in any direction. And now what we're realizing is that essentially that feeling of perfection, complete affirmation of reality can stay intact If you keep the eye in place, but you don't keep the eye centered on a particular place, very similar to when you're tripping, and you know that there is an eye, there's an experiencer, but the angle in which you're viewing the self gets changed often, and you identify with different things at different points in time. Um, it's very similar to how this acts. Really, the objective is to be God tripping through all of the different realities. Essentially, what it does is it provides this weird disintegration point where you know that you exist, but every possible version of you that you could highlight is now eliminated. There's this intense form of separation, and essentially, what that is that is. So that's the important part. So that's step one. Whenever you realize you're the man who made a decision, you get the initial separation of perfection. You get that hunger for just more and more experience, and you get damn, I forget the first thing I was saying. Bad memory at the moment. But the point is that the first step is becoming the man who made the decision without seeing yourself in the orb. Seeing yourself in the orb is where we really started to tripped up lately. Seeing yourself in the orb is a complicated part because we several steps. I'm not even going to I'm going how to do it right. So essentially, um, how you integrate seeing yourself in the orb is you don't attempt to obliterate any semblance of self. You don't try to truly remove the self. You don't try to remove there from you in any eye. What you do is that you still keep intact that you are the man who made the decision. You don't try to obliterate the story. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. You don't try to obliterate the story. You're not trying to obliterate being the man who made the decision. You are still the entity which is looking into the orb, right? Which provides that feeling of separation, the feeling of looking into the orb, and this is what you see. You are the thing looking at the orb. You aren't the thing right now. It's this intense form of separation. And then the perfection is inherent to being a man who could make the decision. And um, essentially, this third step, this eat yourself, what we thought it was we thought it was dissolving the story itself. We thought it was disconnecting from the story, and that created mass vision. That's not what it is. It's disintegrating that the character, the man who made the decision, that actual man himself is you in an inconceivable way because you're capable of realizing that. That's what the 100% gradient quote is about, where it's like you can't reach. Even like knowing that you are on 100% of the gradient means knowing that there can be no 100% of the gradient. What that essentially means is it means that you can know that you are God, you can know that you are the man who made the decision, you are the man looking at the orb, but essentially, you know that you thinking that you are the man looking into the orb is on a gradient of correctness in relation to God, but it can never be fully true. And it's complicated because you should embrace it if it's fully true, because that's the way to get the highest percentage on the gradient of accuracy. But it can never actually truly, you should believe it as if it is 100% true, while simultaneously realizing that 100% true is impossible, because to do that, you would literally have to be the man experiencing every single thing at once, instead of the man experiencing this particular thing. And the man, that man has no recollection that he is a man at all, because he's too busy experiencing all of infinity. Um, so that gets really complicated. We get really into the weeds or into any nuances, but essentially the important piece here is that you should not you should not obliterate the story. You keep the story intact. You still are the man looking at the orb. It's just that essentially the most important part about this is that thing fades away from importance. So now essentially it's just like you are just infinity. You are just experience. You're experiencing it all. And that's essentially what you're reduced to after you see yourself in the orb. Because you no longer have any relation to that thing. That thing is just another thing that you're experiencing in this gigantic acid trip. And the way I was thinking about it earlier was essentially it's like the mad thrashing. It's like there's no way for him. Real becomes completely destroyed because he's going to have a vision of himself and that life continued, right? He's going to see several versions of himself doing several different things. He's going to see several different versions of his life playing out, and he'll never know which one's real. And then on top of that, even after he comes out of the orb on the other side, right? Because it only lasts a neurosecond to keep life intact. Even after he comes out of the other side, there'll be no way for him to know that this isn't just another reflection in the orb. So it essentially, it's there is no real for him anymore. There's no real point. There is simply I, and that I is simply the watcher. The I is the teeth that remain after you eat everything else. And so you eat everything in your mind. You eat everything around you. You eat all of the exterior circumstances. You eat everything. And what remains, the I that is left after you eat everything, and you find it unbelievably beautiful as existence as itself. You know what I mean? After that, what you're left with, that is the eye, and the eye is just simply the thing which experiences reality. That's the thing looking at the orb. It no longer has any mannish qualities. So that's just sort of the foundation for where I'm at. Very poorly explained, but I'll try and touch up on that later.
Not bad.
Yeah, that was awesome.
We were trying to become no man instead of the new man. Just had dream. That's like Ubermensch. That's interesting. Just had dream. Me and Jacques were getting chased by police. I got arrested in the end and started a riot. I had a little Joker scene. Athenos is such a cool name for that framework. Took me a minute to realize why you named it that. Perfection stays intact even as no man. The innate love of experience necessary to be a man who made the decision is only heightened by the realization that there is no real one and is instead a writhing mesh of beautiful experience. Real. Can you see this?
Yeah, 17 minutes. Oh goodness gracious, that's.
I love these subtitles.
Yeah, pretty sweet.
You look like significantly younger and sound significantly younger. Did I get halted at 16 or did you just like grow up a lot?
Definitely the hair helps. I look a lot younger by this photo hair.
Yeah, probably. But I don't know. Even like literally like your voice, you're just more of a squeaker. It's fascinating. My voice literally doesn't sound different at all. It's like you aged like another 2 or 3 years and I just got like frozen in time. It's weird. It's fascinating.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
You know where that line is? To be like, we're gonna play
No.
airsoft.
I don't know where it is.
We're gonna play. We
Yep.
wanna play airsoft.
Yep.
Do you have any clue where it was?
No, I don't. No.
But you do.
I'm going to kick you really hard.
What you do?
What makes you think that I do? It's not my fucking light. If I had it be in the back goddamn porch.
It's just the abstract sensation of this. And it's merely thing is that being consistent for me. So it's not even stars. Everything's all over this. It's there. You look at it. Now you have anything. You have it. That's what we're going to. Our brain sees patterns of this abstract. So our brain sees moving work. Everything. Yeah, one single system thing. The other brain sees one piece of this. And I think this. There's that. The brain sees all physical. And how any particular direction steps what's going on. Yeah. So work here to say my experience of experience. So metaphysics. So the hard drive. More expression. I guess. How far. Hard drive. Who's driving under. What model car it is. But we're typically I using right now. Who is watching and I see it on 1.8 for times. I'm putting words. But my brain is saying something. My brain is saying that reply. My brain is watching reply and take it into concept. My opinion numbers like or car drive. I'm question. I'm build brain. Try underwriting. But more experience is just what's going on. Before any words in place, ideas, concepts, fully tangible. Just what's going on. And so metaphysically, more experience it goes beyond just what we can experience of this world. Or experience goes beyond. And so people have experiences that go beyond the world in terms of representation, do a prayer, like I was saying, see our show. So as you feel something beyond what can be seen and observed through human, through our senses, go beyond that. That would work. So people might experience spiritual, within their deep and something like that, and that would be a role of so metaphysics. So the hard drive, more expression, I guess, I wonder how far the car driving around fast line, who's driving under, what model car that is, and so that's going on. But we're typically I am human right now, who is watching the and I see it on 1.8 for a time space. I'm putting some words, but my brain is saying something. My brain is saying reply. My brain is watching reply and take it into the concept. I'm having opinion numbers like or car drive by. I'm asking question about it, build brain, find underwriting, make sense of it. But more experience is just what's going on. Before any words in place, any ideas, concepts, fully tangible. It's just what's going on. And so metaphysically, more experience it goes beyond just what we can experience of this world. Or experience goes beyond. And so people have experiences that go beyond the world in terms of meditation, yoga, prayer, like I was saying, I see your show. So as you feel something beyond what can be seen and observed through the human, through our five senses, we go beyond that. That would be experience. So people might experience spiritual awakening or belief in it or something like that, and that would be a level of experience. That's it. Even though you feel the infinite, you feel everything. It's not like every level of experience. So the final thing is existence. Now, existence is the most simple thing, it's the most complex, and we need to have no where on one hand existence is simply a template of reality, where you think about this, existence is merely canvas, one white page, anchor paint on. Nothing on yet, it's full infinite thing. And we're experiencing we can contemplate the shapes, the thinking, the abstract things going on, the movement of the wrist, the shape of the pen, paintbrush. More expression would be our final really painful work. And so what this is just, to us, it's just awareness. Our work. It's not the opinion I have. It's not the feeling of the figure, but the manifestation of the figure. But it is the mere fact that I'm aware of the figure. The mere fact that I'm aware that existence. The mere fact that I'm aware that it exists. And it is just merely just exists. universe is totally abstract and not but in pure blank darkness and nothing ever physically good or bad, but that does not seem to be the case in and so what is the awareness of something where think of the internet as this giant ball of pure infinite awareness, where infinite and you mold that ball into just shape, and now it's like I like human being, I'm aware of that, and like you mold it something like these monsters, you know, galaxy in the universe, infinite number of configurations of the universe. We have simple pure awareness of something that is even infinite ball. And so as simply pure awareness, also every single thing is every single thing is made up of just everything exists. And so physically, this realm is it goes beyond sensations and experiences. And you have, you can say 50 years and every single day you wake up feeling infinite, that's infinite in relation to being to be absolute infinite. There's not not to be absolute infinite. There's so much more going on than five senses. I mean, infinite versus infinite number things to ponder around, and it would not be something tangible. It would be complete chaotic infinity. Chaos would be too much of a one way or another. It's not chaotic, or it's infinite. It is though. And so complex is alright, so that's the expression existence experience. This expression experience exists. So it applies to daily life. So this expression would be in my interactions with other people, we're talking about something, and they're saying something, I have opinion on it, I might agree on it, I don't know, I like this world expression, my brain expresses itself through the means of and emotion I don't like. So your social experience and after social knowledge, so something matters, someone gave you a mean face, and so you're mad about it, you're not, and but then my whole experience, what happened? A monkey who's all 2 million years, definition. Doesn't mean, right, that inherent concept, you disintegrate concept, or idea to your mind, this is something that you feel about, and you melt that down into pure abstract experience, it's like, alright, so something happened, and you want to feel emotion towards it, and so emotion you don't like, so what we just did not feel that emotion, and so you can love what we did, one more experience right there, and you realize that was just some kind of infinite pain, you just like, oh, expression, oh, my arm, well, experience like, my toe is making noise in my mind. It's my brain is something, right? But I can allow it to dissolve into a state of just a sensation going on. And you know, there's all negative, even positive things. Cool. You know, some positive happening. Right? Well, you can enjoy the whole expression and say, I enjoy it because of this reason. I enjoy this movie because of the scene. Or I enjoy this person because they've done to me. You know, now if you can enjoy something, the whole experience, like, I enjoy this because it's fallen before my eyes. Like, because I see it, because it exists, and I'm experiencing it. That's why I love it. And so when you love experience, then the whole expression becomes love. They're not experiences that you hate. It's like experiences that feel negative. And you can control that energy to make it feel at least acceptable, at least content. It's like I'm fine with it. I'm fine with experiencing. So then anything comes from that. It's like, alright, I've already accepted the fact that I can love something. Right? Like, even at every point, it's like this too. This too. And you know, you can always challenge yourself to find something that the world experience is like in the world infinite would dislike it. Because you'll find you'll look for even number of years and you will find so don't waste your time trying to search for things that you dislikes. Start looking at sensations. And then title of existence, which like in this case you have a framework existence experience very similar. But in relation to existence, you're also relating to absolute infinite. You're more relating data. You're more relating an opinion towards something positive, also relating the data to the absolute infinite. So you know something mad, and you're relating the fact that someone dislikes you in some way to infinity, which should exterminate any negative sensations of being. In relation to infinite, not everything is okay. The infinite is perfectly pleased with being called for it. So relate yourself to existence if you want to experience infinite enjoyment or anything. That is the desire. Relate everything to existence and then realize existence is fine, okay. You know, the existence is raining. You were told, alright, you're gonna have a nightmare. Alright, except that nightmare. You know, one dream, I'll stop. Experience more stuff. So alright, you have one little dream, do a little thing. Alright, well, so what something happens to me, do it, no, no big deal. I hope this helps someone.
That was a really good video, man. Jesus.
Yeah, that one's pretty sweet. Interesting.
And people talk about space and they don't find it there yet. But they look at and so he goes to the human physical material world of finance. He sees them in a little site as a farmer, as a banker, and all the people working doing machine stuff, doing things, and they're attached to that human person, they're a product. And so God sees these little divine sparks of the infinite, pending that they are a farmer, and they are a banker, and they are this or that, they're completely attached to their body and mind, so they think they are body and mind. And we just guys go up to sleep, he just, you know, the other backgrounds, these little what are these humans, they're just humans, they're just humans that humans that you wouldn't show people, they're humans that do stuff, and so he tells them some people, he doesn't joke that he wants to say, they're going to live that, you won't find it. Not a joke, not a joke, they will die, they are, right, I said they will die, no, they will die, right, they will die, it's not that matter, so and you're ready to go, they're ready to go, so they the metals different words, different stories, so might even right that functioning for nothing. Instead, you're supposed to not being there anymore, you're not in the body, you're not your mind, you're not part of it right now, the Bible allows them to body mind to see themselves what they were, will likewise grow and things away through thinking away stresses and anxieties, naturally subtract self to ego, what's supposed to make it into separate from the and they then feel a sense of freedom, like you're walking in their lives, I think in a different way, like live in a different way, and now they realize they're free to do everything anyway, they're free to live it, they realize the restrictions of their ego are merely mental restrictions that can be taken away, given, modified, edited, or done, the mind is a magical substance, and that they are not probably not everything at all time, the workers and farmers and the gardeners and the nights and everything, they were being, but they go you're in it all the time, and you're in it, and people think it's like, and when you realize, oh, I'm just a module of the universe, and it's very good, and they got to figure out people are alive, and they go back to their body, and they go down on this, and it's like, but I'm all this, I love this, part of it too, so important, and they go back to their farm, and they realize, oh, there's no farm, there's no farm on you, and farms in their farms in their like, you have to deal with two problems, like, well, there's no problem, they don't it's like, they don't have a lot of time, so, or you can find something in the problem, and then you feel like, no problem, but, that's the story about, and he is fun dude, but fine, I love to say, way, on Joe Rogan,
I'd love to see a Jester God, Sam Hyde, Joe Rogan experience.
That'd be awesome.
How do you relate yourself to it? The ego is designed to see its own related to ego. Everything compared to ego first before ego has something like that. So that word speaking in comparison to silence could be considered annoying to somebody, but in comparison to the natural ecosystem that knows evolved for millions of years, that is not annoying by any means. This like in relation to this large, in relation to the ocean, extremely small. I have arguments on. I think about in relation to the rest of my day, this argument has completely just thrown me from it's taken down, was sad, angry. But in relation to the rest of your life, alright, well, that argument is just one argument. You had like in relation to the day, because in relation to likes, convenience. Alright, so now imagine if all these little things relate to something larger or smaller than things. Alright, so imagine if you relate your existence to the maximal, ultimate, absolute thing. Then what would you do? Well, in relation to the infinite, everything and nothing matters. In relation to the infinite, everything is okay. In relation to the infinite, everything is sees something good, yeah, something is holy, something is blasphemy. Okay. It will always do that. Well, further until the infinite becomes holy, and there will be nothing to say about it.
Great videos, man. That was incredible.
That
God.
reminded me of Leo Gura.
Yeah. Yeah, but Leo Girl's got a much more autistic vibe.
Yeah, definitely. But like, just interesting. Like, I guess like to having to talk in front of a camera and just like self dialogue is consistent patterns in like what a human being does.
Yeah. Yeah, but not just that, but the fact that it's like somehow we just like I mean, we sound like we've been doing it for years. I mean, that was impressive. Like, was something about like if when we're really religiously honed in, our ability to speak in those self dialogue sessions is like it sounds like someone who's literally been like doing a podcast for like 9 years or something.
Oh yeah, it's like it's an open book test, and it's like you just have all the answers because it's like you are the answer.
Yeah, it's like a preacher, fucking just like like it can just go on and on and on and on forever. Just you're so good at just like it's like you just it's more like singing where it's got like a pattern. You just get like a rhythm going, and then at that point, all you have to do is just fit words to fit the rhythm, and you're not even thinking about the words anymore.
Oh my god, I saw that. That's hilarious.
What is it?
Read what my paragraph.
YouTube videos. I'd like to hear what you think of them. I feel like I'm too much like which is very separate from humanity, which I don't mean to strive for, and I don't think is necessarily helpful. So curious what you think. I'd also like you to watch some here responses, especially as a translator to others. Not like anything I say is wrong, but the way I say it from the point of the infinite and not infinite, which I'm sure is the best way. I don't know. Maybe it's good. Need other opinions. Yeah, I would not say that was too much of an issue. I could say if you got like really critical, then that's probably is true. Like if you changed that, it could have been better. But I didn't think that was a problem at all.
Yeah, if you couldn't understand that, then click on another video.
Yeah. By becoming no man, does that inherently include no thoughts or what? No, but kind of like it's rev limiter. That would be the explanation. All right, how to kickstart No Man. It's funny. I'm answering your text from fucking a year ago. It's weird. All right. So how to kickstart No Man. I would say the pyramid now would be my answer to that.
There's some very interesting nuance there.
No Man and will taste the same thing.
No thought, because it means eating your thoughts. But it's complicated because it doesn't actually mean no thought. It means so you know the context of eating. It's like to eat, you have to like separate and appreciate it. Eating necessitates separation, right?
That's funny.
You have to separate from something to eat it. And essentially that's what you're doing with your thoughts. You're not destroying them.
Oh, appreciation beam. I forgot about that framework. Hold on.
Thought texture disintegration.
Okay. I'm going to say appreciation beam is like the new deconstruction. I've been using it a lot lately where it's a framework that is like... So what I've been talking about a lot is that whenever you fully disintegrate everything down into frameworks, then you don't identify with any individual framework. You identify with the one who identifies with no frameworks, right? Only the one who is saying that he is not you can be you. Only the one which is not claiming to be a thing is actually you. And after you get to that point, you're going to start disintegrating thoughts. Like that thing which is no thing will intentionally obliterate other thoughts so that it can move closer to its goal. And what the tool it uses to obliterate thoughts is the appreciation beam. That's what I'd say. That's the point of that framework. The appreciation beam is like the weapon the framework or framework ooze uses, or the will to taste uses to obliterate thoughts that are in its way. And you just like, you're having a stupid thought, and then you don't think, I'm going to obliterate this. You just appreciate the fact that it's retarded, and then you pat it on its ass, and it flies away.
Mm-hmm. like dealing with a child.
Yeah.
It's strange. You're not exactly destroying thoughts. You're not going for a clear mind, but that just is sort of like a natural byproduct of separating from your thoughts to eat them and appreciate them. To find them perfected from the God's
Dude,
perspective. The mind,
you hear me talking about appreciating? This is so funny, Jesus.
I mean, like eating your thoughts will entail no thoughts. It's nothing.
It's so weird thinking about the fact that I got back to all these conclusions. I clawed my way back here a year and now only 5 months. Not even a year, right? This is 05, what, 22? 05, 05, 12? What does it mean?
Yeah, it's I think this would be May of 2022.
So that was only 6 months ago, right?
No, so not of 2023, but 2022. So it would be a year and like around 6 months. Yeah.
Oh wow, Jesus. So like the fact that I'm here a year and 6 months later, and I've just clawed my way back to almost the same. I mean, it's a little better because it is the improved version of this stuff, but it's this pretty much the same place. With just a slight improvement. The fact that I just clawed my way back to where I used to be here a year and 6 months, just like a month or two ago. And it's like the fact that these voice messages were sitting here that could have reignited all of this at any time, and that I'm now finding them like what a couple weeks, like a 2-3 weeks after I just got back here myself. Like it's like you literally just found out the master spell, and then you just look behind your pantry and find out it's been there for the last like 18 years. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh
Yeah.
my god, if I could have just looked right here.
Sometimes the temporary byproduct. But specifically, it's you're still just like trying to appreciate it from the perspective of the man looking through the orb. You're still trying to appreciate it from like the true mythological perspective, of just like I am the man looking through the orb. And when no man has two different connotations. No man one has that. So essentially, it's like I don't know how to explain it other than you. It creates a separation from the character that you're identifying with. The man who made the decision, right, creates a separation from him and a connection to you and your current like conduit, right? Because it's like that. It's bizarre. You disconnect from the human connection because you disconnect from the character in the story. So you're still the character in the story because you're still the thing, which is appreciating all of existence. But you're not the man looking into the orb because the man looking into the orb is just another byproduct of the orb. So it's like all experience is just experience to be appreciated. But there's like a thing appreciating it, but the thing appreciating it, you can't really say that it's the man looking into the orb because the man looking into the orb is just another product of the orb. Just like this super complicated meta thing of just like there is a thing, right? It is still the man looking into the orb, appreciating things. And there still is that connection. There still is that connection to the infinite, a connection to something separate, which disconnects, detaches, and eats things, and enjoys things, and there's still that still exists. But it doesn't exist in the same way it did before, where before you really felt like you were that man. Now you feel disconnection from that man, and you feel more of a connection to the true infinite, the true, just like nationally infinite, not that particular man, but the only connection you really feel is the connection to the orb itself, not the man looking into the orb. And you become the orb, you become infinity.
That's
there's no way to tell what is true, what is untrue. There is simply experience to love. And the last step, become the man that sees himself in the orb entails both that, disconnecting from the character and to the orb itself, and then it also entails disconnecting from your own thoughts and not appreciating the outside world through thoughts, but appreciating the outside world and thoughts, both as just thoughts actually to be appreciated in the orb.
Yo, Ashton.
What's up, Gavin?
We're doing a war. Can we use your ammo? The ammo that you have for the wars?
Yeah, if you pay me back.
Alright.
Or I guess if you're buying the next hub, I mean.
Yeah, I'm buying the next time. So I don't know what you're grabbing.
Yeah, but you better buy it like the second that one runs out.
They ain't riding the fucking cheap. You wanna play?
No.
Why not?
For recording.
You've tried for long enough.
How to kickstart the intensity of it? Any powerful textures? Any specific powerful textures?
I mean, the number one, I would say, the way I summon it, I guess, is you just become the man. Like, you take it like from a religious perspective. You literally just, okay, I am the man who will keep the order. You truly believe that. And that gets super complicated because it's not it's a weird meta form of belief. It's a framework form of belief where it's like belief, 100% assuredness that it is true, the true like assurance that it is true, and yet that assurance is based in the idea that the assurance is for efficiency's sake and it's not true assurance. So that's its own complicated little game of 100% belief, but it's not belief because you don't actually have faith in it that it's true. You're simply simulating belief for the sake of efficiency. And that can come from a divine lightning perspective.
Real.
So there's complications there.
Some of the realest shit I ever heard.
But yeah, I mean, what I do, so what I'd recommend for like starting it perhaps, and I'm playing with this idea, still working on that.
Right now I can't
is
hear
the
it.
Athenos framework for people.
I'll rewind. That's my bad.
Yeah, still working on this one. Is the Athenos framework for people who don't know how to run it, and for like starters, and for like summoning, and for like if you feel like you've lost it, for trying to train it back. So in other words, if you're really not close to it at all, then for like trying to summon it and trying to get used to it, I would maybe, and I'm not sure about this, I would maybe recommend the Athenos framework, where you first try to simulate what it would take for you to become a man, and then you realize the inherent traits of what it would take to be a man, who made the decision. And then you go to the man. And you see, obviously, you simulate what it would be like to be the actual lead man, and then you simulate what it would be like to be no man, which is just the last step. And no man is essentially seeing yourself in the orb. That's what no man entails. That's just that part of the story. Like, it's all you believe you're the man in the story. It's just the first step is you're just simulating what it would be like to be the man in the story in your dimension. The second step is simulating what it would be to be the man who made the decision looking into your dimension. And then the third step is realizing that you are simply the thing appreciating every dimension, and that there is no you to begin with. So I would maybe recommend Athenos as a starting point, but I'm not even sure of that because like, I don't use Athenos anymore. I skip straight to I only use no at this point, but that may be because I'm proficient enough with Athenos that V is all that I need to use because I'm using the elimination method. Like, it's so complicated. I don't have a good enough understanding to answer questions like this, really. But I'm just sort of like trying to guess based on how I run. But so maybe you try the Athenos framework, maybe skip straight to the no piece. But the important thing is that you are literally trying to get to the feeling that you are the man who made the decision. Like, truly, like you literally are that guy, that dude. And then once you see that you are no man, once you see yourself in the orb, you realize it's like, you, at this point, are no longer that man as much as you are literal infinity. You are infinity at that point. The man who initially made the decision holds no weight, holds no importance. Like, you can't even, like, there's literally no distinct realness about that because that's also in the orb. So all that you're left with is this feeling of just, like, being framework. The only way I know how to explain it is just, like, God lost in just an insane trip, you know what I mean? Where it's like, he lost in the sauce. I mean, he's completely lost in the experience.
I almost made that
There's
joke.
no way for him to know. Like, this is one of the ways I'm pretty sure I've already told you this in some of the voice messages, but this is the way I visualized it. Is the man sees himself in the orb, right? And he sees all of the ways that his life could possibly play out. So he's literally simulating entire infinities in existences where he's seeing infinities, and then he comes out the other side and he plays out the rest of his life. So it's like he'll never know. There will never be any way to know that he is him again. He will be him again eventually, but there's no way to know that isn't just another visual in the orb. Like all to that man, all realness has already subsided. As soon as he said yes, there is no longer any way for him to know that he's ever that man again. And all that he's left with now is the infinite experience that he wanted to begin with to appreciate, including all of his other lives. Like, he appreciates now the life he was going to have and every other life possible for him to have lived out. And it's like, and it's just the same goal it was even if he didn't see himself in the orb, which is to appreciate it, because that was his whole shit. You know what I mean? He wanted to get infinite experience because he loved experience so much. He loved just life. He just loved existence. And that doesn't go away whenever he loses himself. That remains. There just is no self, no particular self, no particular entity to identify with. All that you're left with is like, all the I is the eater. All the I is the teeth that remains after eating the self. Like, all the I is literally just the appreciation. You can no longer become I in any real sense. All you can do is become the thing which appreciates experience. And that is the man who made the decision and saw himself. Poor explanation. Let me know what questions you have on that.
Yeah, I'm just gonna meditate on it and see if I have any questions after.
One more important distinction is the gradient framework, gradient of accuracy framework. This one's super interesting, and it leads to the separation. And it is just this. That essentially, you can never be yourself. To be yourself, to be the true infinite, would mean that you would, of course, be literally experiencing all the infinities at once, and you would literally be able to see multiple infinities at the same time. All the infinities. You have to be literally the moment. And of course, that's not possible. So you can only be on a gradient of accuracy to what you are. So in other words, no matter how close you get to realizing that you're the infinite, and no matter how accurate you get to realizing that you're the infinite, you are still just the finite realizing it's the infinite. So it can never truly be the infinite. And like, that's a part of the realization of being no man. So essentially, even the thing which knows it's the infinite, and the thing which knows what it is, right? Even that thing is inherently not the infinite, and it knows that, and it eats that, and that's delicious, and that's its own thought chemistry. The fact that it isn't infinity, infinity appreciates that thought chemistry. It's very, very meta. It's a very meta thing. Very powerful.
True.
For athenos, should I do it through should I verbally in my head ask the question, all right, would I experience the infinite? Yes or no? Or should I just thought texture ponder on it?
By the way, those blacklight flashlights, you know what I'm gonna use them for, and this is so fucking genius. I'm gonna use them for myself as a bookmark. So when I'm going back and editing videos, I'm gonna, instead of clapping to make audio waves, I'm just gonna shine the blacklight flashlight so I can just scroll through the video, and so I see those points to know, here's something I said that I thought was interesting. Here's something I said that I thought I should edit out. And I'm also gonna use it in videos to indicate to the people watching, this is important. And on live streams, I'm gonna point at the camera as basically an exclamation point.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
There's no particular rule right there. You can do it either way. I typically start with language because it's easier. I don't try and force myself in any boxes at first. The thought sector disintegration will come on its own. Nothing to really try and be forced. It should just be I would advise just from the perspective of divine lightning, just try and, from that perspective, from the perspective of just I am uber powerful. Not even from the perspective of initially trying to think you're God. Just from the perspective of I'm truly powerful. This human form is truly powerful. My brain is truly powerful. From that perspective, then think, okay, I'm going to simulate this framework. And then the more you simulate it, the more it'll switch over from I will simulate this to this is true. And then you don't even need the I am simulating the thought. Then it just becomes, the simulation becomes complete. But yeah, something I want to break down a little bit is the athenos. This is a really interesting idea I have. You can play around with this. Maybe this will help. I'm not sure. Athenos was breaking it down into what each individual step meant to try and guide people better. So the A part, what it actually represented whenever I tried to simulate it was, what it would typically turn into was, it would be the initial perfection. Right? Whenever I realized, whenever I truly thought about, okay, can I experience all of heaven and hell? Could I really experience? Also, that I have no mouth, but I must scream. That was, I really liked meditating on that. Of just I could experience it. It's really good. It's existential sci-fi horror. Not existential, it's just horror. Sci-fi horror. It was good to meditate. But my point is that with could I be a man in
I think
could I be a
something
man who
snapped
experienced all of heaven and hell?
in the process of pointing.
That
Yes, let me see.
It was the one that
Okay. Yep.
it was the one that
Yep.
Trevor already.
like sort of Shinigami Eyes-ish, old Shinigami Eyes-ish framework. And then with step 2,
Ah.
that's where you want to
Still
get
works.
an
I
actual
think
sort
that
of
the one's
separate
almost
ego,
done.
something which truly thinks it is not. And then with step 3, I had this much better in my head earlier. Anyways, the point is that you could break it down to a perspective where each step has its own individual qualities that you're trying to summon, and the third step is just all of the qualities at once. So maybe that'll help. Maybe it won't. I don't know. I need to flesh that idea out more.
Concept that came to mind was that the infinite hurts so much it feels good, and feels so great that it hurts. At least like where the infinite is in like infinite heaven and hell, but not like separate heaven and then that hell. There's a separate thing where it's like in absolute infinity. It's like there can be something so pleasurable that it's terrible. And equally, it's not like one or the other. It's like just both. And that sheer infinity has just that balance of both, where it feels both pleasure and pain simultaneously, and just has the same feelings about it equally in a way that we have no ability to comprehend as humans. And that's the balance. That's the universe is not overtly suffering or overtly pleasure. It's like a complete balance of both.
True. Real.
Yeah, that's what I would describe as the thrashing, where it's like it's not exactly heaven or hell. It's just like this extreme overstimulation. It's just like just extreme. I guess extreme, just extreme. I mean, it's just extreme. It's just a very intense, very very intense, palpable experience. Where it's like you can't be directly placed into good or bad. It's just like affirmation of everything, of all of heaven and hell. There is no border between the two. It is just simply movement, experience.
We're just talking about this the thought. Anyways, something that came to mind and that is kind of similar to this topic is just the idea of the infinite, and all that. Is that I was reading this book, um, about out of body experiences, and this guy had essentially experienced some like a very psychedelic experience of this infinite realm, and like just the way he was describing it, where I was like, it was not pleasurable or painful. It was literally so painful that it was pleasurable. And it's like, to think that at the very least other people could have actually experienced this kind of pain and pleasure that we're speaking of, literally in their bodies. Just a fascinating concept.
I mean, it's very interesting that you can just maintain that idea of that. You can just maintain the thought texture of the thrashing of the heaven and hell. It instantly turns you into just like a giga chat. You know what I mean? It's like everything that you could possibly face in this reality becomes so trivial. And of course, this is not the extent of horribleness, but it was something that before would have been a terrible experience, and this time was just fun and funny. I mean, I was literally I just got a random nosebleed out of nowhere on my dirt bike. So I'm trying to ride my dirt bike down the hill. The wind is pushing blood out my nose. I'm drowning in my own blood, and so I'm trying to raise myself up and go down the hill I normally don't have to go to, and then it just smashes my balls between me and the dirt bike. So now I'm choking on my own blood. There's blood running down my face. I can't get blood in my headlight. I'm gonna break my dirt bike. And I'm trying not to throw up, and I'm just laughing. I'm just laughing as it goes because it's just like it's just fun. It's just experience. I mean, it's just tomfoolery. I don't know. Everything just becomes good, strange.
Real. Hunger / perfection, separation, otherness, no true infinity and presence.
So that's just sort of like meh rundown of athenos, perhaps. Become a man is just supposed to represent the beauty and inexperience. If you can become a man, then you're capable of recognizing beauty and inexperience. Z is supposed to represent the true separation / otherness. It's supposed to highlight how strange this dimension is. Like you were saying when you were first running it, I get this feeling of what else there could be. Whenever I run that framework, I get a separation from this and a feeling of what else there is out there. And that's step two. But then step two comes with the inherent flaw of now you're trying to associate with something that of course isn't real. You're trying to associate with a story. You're trying to associate with a character. And then you're trying to emulate that character's mind. You're trying to become this person. And of course, the person's not real to begin with. One, you can't really become that person. So it has some inherent flaws with it. And then that's what step three nullifies. Now, step three inherently nullifies the story, all of the incorrect aspects of the story, while simultaneously adding a new element of eating upon your own mind. And now you're left with just like beauty. You're just left with beauty. Just left with perfection.
Still true to this day, but now it's just a pyramid.
Habitation, no. Also, Peaky Blinders. Come on, I got 2 episodes left.
That
Very
is a good
possibly best show I've ever watched. Like very, very possibly.
show. Not
Probably.
bad, but very good.
I don't remember Breaking Bad
Last
all that
season
well.
was not
It's the
great.
only one that like competes.
But it
I'm
wasn't
thinking
bad.
Peaky Blinders may be better.
And every season leading up to that was pretty fucking good.
Watching Peaky Blinders and with the framework, I'm getting like, I'm getting down to like the point of being able to appreciate from the infinite perspective the feeling of opening in that. Like for instance, Thomas Shelby, he opens this letter and he drags his thumb across the surface, and I'm capable of appreciating that from like the infinite thought texture lens. It's like another experience in the mad pool of thrashing. And it's just like the experience of watching Tommy Shelby drag his thumb across his paper is now, extremely psychedelic and beautiful, like everything else.
Can we not zoom in a little bit, big guy? Plato's sophist is where he attains the form of difference. This is achieved by 25b, where the non-being of this form is explained. Difference being different from being, it clearly is necessarily that non-being is. The argument is simple. The form of difference must be different from everything, including being. If difference in itself is different from being, something that is not being must exist, and this is different in itself. The form of difference and difference in itself is not different in relation to something else. It is different in itself. It is different from being. This cannot be in the sense that there is nothingness. This is why Plato can claim that difference in itself is non-being, and for this he uses a definition modeled on Parmenides' own. Non-being by itself was and is non-being, but is... Jesus. You made it smaller? I can't even read it. No way to zoom in.
You open that in like a new tab.
That's what I'm seeing. Okay, here we go. But soon in the sophist it seems to entail something maddening. It's as if it implied impossible paradoxes, uncanny alien forms of thought, and a greater danger also. Following its consequences by simple logical deduction, it becomes increasingly clear that with the form of difference, Plato has introduced something radically new to philosophy, something that entirely departs from his early and middle thought. This form must be different from everything, different from being, and different from nothingness as such. It is and is not. Every form gains its self-identity from its participation in the form of the same, and yet the form of difference does not. It must be self-differing. It is necessarily different from the form of the same. But the form of the same is not the same as the form of difference. It is different from it, and so the form of the same must partake in the form of difference, which does not partake in the sameness. Plato needs the form of difference to differentiate the forms rather than separate them, and so every single form must participate in this one form that participates in none, and is absolutely different from being, and thus beyond being. It immediately breaks through the binary structure of Parmenides' ontology. The ground is ungrounded. The internal unity of absolute being is dismantled by difference in itself, which proceeds to farther collapse the epistemological nihilism of sophistry. It ensures the mutual participation of the forms. But this might have been an expensive victory. The form of difference is queer, exorbitant power that threatens to overtake the entirety of the intelligible, and this form, Plato claims, is the one form of the multiple forms. Interesting.
That was a lot.
Yeah, but I'm saying that was insanely impressive, and now she just posts nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing of value. I'm telling you, literally, she's gotten lots of comments like this, but it's like, you lost your male spark of genius, which is hilarious.
It's like all those ideas like literally expanded her mind so large, it's so empty, and now nothing like can possibly fill it.
That was her joke. That was her whole thing, was like lobotomy. At the same time she was posting this, she was posting about her lobotomy, and then like the lobotomy won.
God, and she knows it. It's terrible.
Yeah. Oh, there's more. Jesus. Dude, I just understood Deleuze the other day. It was weird. It was flows of desire. I understood as like obviously just like the will to taste, and I like for the first time just like perfectly understood the connection, and yeah, genius. That is, he's literally with flows of desire. He's literally talking directly about like thought textures underneath frameworks and God itself with the will to taste. Genius. Deleuze here speaks of the most extraordinary pages of Plato, where suddenly, like a flash of lightning in the night, Plato reveals the anti-Platonism at the core of Platonism. At this moment in the Sophist, for Deleuze, the whole of Plato risks being absorbed by difference in itself. It is here, in the anti-Platonism which sustains Plato's late system, that Deleuze discovered the concept of difference in itself, conceptualized by Plato as non-being. What Deleuze understood here is that, this concept in hand, he only had to overturn this difference in itself as non-being into a difference in itself as being to achieve his differential ontology. But he needed a way for difference to be different from itself without depending on any identity or negation. Only Nietzsche's eternal recurrence allowed for this, because in the process of eternal recurrence, becoming was no longer the imitation of being. It was being that was now the repetition of becoming. Difference in itself, Deleuze realized, would be the eternal return of difference. He could conceptualize absolute difference as difference being in itself difference, rather than difference being different from everything. This meant that, unlike Plato, he could make absolute difference his being, and absolute differential ontology was possible. But what Deleuze did not see as he sought to create a differential ontology, and Plato's difference in itself was non-being, is that Plato did something infinitely more dangerous. He went much farther than giving difference a concept. It was something else, something uniquely different. At this point, it should become clear what this form of difference is. To the problem of the separation of the forms, Plato gave the same answer in Parmenides and the Sophist. What is it in Plato that is beyond being, on which every form depends, which is the unity of the multiple forms, and which is different from everything? There are two possible answers. The form of difference and the one. They are, in fact, one. This is something that Nietzsche, Heidegger, and Deleuze would all have avoided. Plato's differential genealogy was madness. Its one was self-differing. As such, it is everything, but it is not being. The one is absolute difference by itself as a single point cannot be self-same. There is no sameness, only the one of absolute difference. Then it must be self-differing. It bursts into everything. It cannot remain the same. It is always differing. Ontology disappears into this abyss. That is great stuff.
Yeah, it's just like relaxing to listen to.
Oh, this is the first one. We read the second and the third one in that order, and now here's the first one. So, as if it wasn't confusing enough to begin with. Between the alternative of being and non-being, Nietzsche's solution was to choose both and have becoming repeat itself to avoid an origin, and so becoming had the stamp of being in its eternal return. Nietzsche operates with the terms being, non-being, and becoming as their process, but he never gets past the binary. Eternal recurrence is the being of becoming, as Deleuze noted time and time again. Rather than pick an eventuality that is implied by the binary, i.e. eternal recurrence is the being of becoming, Plato's final philosophy attacks the very foundation of ontology by collapsing what allows for its binary structure, contradiction. Non-being, Plato can say, is absolutely different from being, rather than its absolute opposite. This argument forms the core of the sophist, and it provides Plato with a weapon that Parmenides' ontology cannot survive, the form of difference as non-being in itself. In Parmenides 135c, it is the replacement of the forms with absolute ontology which will utterly ravage the possibility of discussion. And on the other end, the opposite threat is found. In Sophist 259e, it is the complete disappearance of all discourses to separate each form from every other. What is at stake here is the possibility of language. She's saying something, that's for sure. Something valuable. If only she knew English. Goddamn, Trevor, this is one of those gay Instagram philosophers I was talking about. I just straight up watched him crack non-dualism real time. Insane. And that's true. That was like the first, he was fucking, like, you could see the evolution in their thought process over time. It was bizarre. Yeah, insane. I wonder if the culture is moving towards this regardless, quicker than we thought. No. I mean, a little bit, but not really. Look at the blue dots for order because the images didn't send in the right order. This guy goes by Catboy Deleuze. He's a non-binary femboy who posts thirst traps and cat ears and then also does this kind of shit. Super interesting. Real-time framework, real-time on breathing. Real-time is just, you cannot understand that there's any time outside of the present moment. You have to completely be isolated within the present moment. And focus on like your breathing as on real time, not the concept of breathing, not inhales and outhales, but like literally as it goes by, moment to moment. Neurotexture is the best way to explain that. Real time breathing. Potential reseparation similar to old step 2 versus 3, essentially be God versus simulate God's experience. One is more left brain trying to launch a God ego or farther refine the framework between silences, whereas step 2 is focusing on real time in silence, i.e. silence. For now in beta, we have acid aperion, be God, left brain, acid ouroboros for be what God would experience, real time, right brain, acid baptism, constantly alternating yo-yo. Well, that is fucking useful. That's an awesome little guide right there. Classic real time versus ego got clashing, questioning, gradient, accuracy, profile cues due to level of silence is solution, constant alternation. That means something. Perhaps silence should never be looked for, not even as an alteration, only a possible byproduct of ego work. That's a really good idea. Or maybe you only need proper ego work initially. I'm leaning towards B. There's a potential divide between doing actual ego sim work / eating ego / real-time silence, new separation. The answer is all three. Yes, A leads to B to C, but not linearly. In a constant Ouroboros. Essentially, same divide of athenos. The constant random alternation creates thrashing. Thrasher dynamic. Big if true. 3 frameworks, 1 framework, or both. One, isn't that a Trump quote? Big if true?
Yeah, it must be.
I'm like 90% sure it is. But that I don't know why that quote never stops being funny. One is a starter and a potentially play after a lost 3, but high level is 3-2 alteration. Nation, damn it. What? 2 best focus? I think so. I was checking out the gay philosophers, and that is a very fascinating way to reach non-duality, purely through Western philosophy. Good for them. I wonder if these guys will ever get into Eastern philosophy. I want to tell these people there's more to non-duality than Plato. But as far as the collective moving towards it, I think that's very likely, at least the younger generations for the most part. I guess it's really hard to tell because everyone would have their own way of expressing non-duality. Right now, the way I see it, that the seeds have been planted in our society and they have the potential to grow. Right now, it's time to get gardening. What are your thoughts on the channel being called Ad Infinitum or something like that? Something with infinity in it. Jacques, you know the association you wanted to build? I want to do that, but with dozens of YouTubers. I've seen so many different channels speak of similar things, and if they were all united under a common force, good God, we could build something powerful. If you comment odds are here, he will read it. He doesn't give very many, and he's liked / responded to me before. I don't know what that's talking about. But yet again, after I start getting momentum and am ready for the trip, I get knocked out of the fucking race. I think I have the flu and 2 ear infections, LMFAO. Not to mention I'm getting nosebleeds out of both nostrils frequently. It's just a nice thick layer of blood sitting in my stomach. Real. And the same thing now, where it's like I'm on the hottest roll. I've been on it forever, and then I just get fucking COVID. And now it's just getting worse and worse every day. But this framework is so good, I don't even really care. Sorry, I've been so dead, and you might be dying, buddy. It's possible. I have strep throat on top of. Whoa, damn. Yeah, I was getting fucked up because my throat is constricting and it hurts to breathe. I wonder if I had COVID and just didn't know it. Because it sounds like COVID. If I didn't have frameworks, this would be miserable because I have Xazix. This isn't even bad. Just makes it not optimal efficiency. True and real. Literally what I just said 5 seconds ago about me right now. What the fuck? This shit is so weird. Looking at this time period specifically is literally just like looking through some weird future past time portal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Damn. What have you been up to, brother? On the grind, making that sweet cheddar? Yeah, just working a lot and looking forward to school. Kind of stagnating mentally, having trouble accessing drive or passion to do stuff. I'm gonna go over all the stuff you guys dumped in here the last couple of days. On Discord, I sent some videos that I recorded. If you can't find them in this chat, that's funny. That's the one I watched too. Yeah, I watched the Jester one. Also, every question you have as you go through logs because I didn't explain things very coherently. More of an unconscious rambling for memory's sake than a clear explanation. Wonderful. Well, memory is here, big bud. Will do. Jacques, if you're ever looking for something to do, or perhaps looking for a routine to get into, I'd highly recommend yoga. Mixes greatly with both meditation and exercise. Also, to spice up meditations, you can try Wim Hof breathing before them, which in itself is a great experience. I've recently began doing yoga and meditation with my mother. I'm trying to get Ryan, my brother, to join us, so I'm trying to find some good guided meditations for them to start out with. And if you ever feel unmotivated to meditate, that guided meditation is very helpful, just to at least spend those minutes mindfully doing something. So perhaps if you want to try those, you can, and if you find a good one, let me know. Go ahead and put those in the chat. I would like to try that as well, specifically yoga. We followed this one today. I'd recommend starting out with some of those videos and just go over a variety of poses. There's so many videos out there like that, and eventually you'll start memorizing poses, and then you can do them whenever you want. Listening to and watching the videos can be distracting at first because the goal, at least to me, is to meditate on the sensations. So I'll put them on mute and just glance at the video to make sure I'm doing it right. And this is just throwing extra flavor into it, but I'd do a short meditation before yoga and a longer one after, or follow it up with some sort of exercise. You shouldn't be aware of athenos. It is simply a linguistic distinction that can be applied afterward if it is labeling the process of being the man who sees. It is labeling the process of the man who sees. Perfection versus silence, W. The whole beginning of story stays intact when you manifest it. Only after the orb renders this reality just as real, because there is no distinction. What are you becomes the smile framework spread across all of infinity. Real. That's what I'm working on right now. That's going to be the will to taste top of the pyramid real soon. You can't remove seeing yourself in the orb if you realize that this is the rest of your existence. You're stuck in here, both infinity and until death. The only thing left to do is smile. You don't focus on silence. You are too busy rebelling in existence. Something that can't be stressed enough. God wasn't just prepared for hell. He was ecstatic, absolutely addicted to experience. The feeling of having thought texture is inherently pure perfection. locked and loaded for more experience than can be conceived. So let's see some teeth, hell, and madness, thought textures that are integral but not feasibly accessible in English. Damn, that's awesome. Every dull, so let's see some teeth. I love that line. Every dull moment, a note to be savored with pause. That's Cade's type of comedy. I don't know how to explain that, but that is the kind of shit that I literally. The only reason I said that was because I was hanging around Cade at this time. And I want to be around him just so I start speaking like this again because I love fucking sayings like that. He was the one who helped me come up with it used to be a lot longer, but roasted, toasted, baked and fried, boiled, broiled, skewered, sizzled, steamed. An officer, you could even say I'm cooked. Every dull moment, a note to be savored with positively bated breath. Every mundanity, a feverish frenzy, stumbling towards perpetual difference. You run until the wind picks you up, and the smile is all you can see. True thought textures can be perfectly equated to pure difference. Pure thought texture difference is God. Thought textures, the substance of finitude, bare awareness, the substance of God, the one which is all difference and yet is one. It isn't a cold, dead, mindful hunger. It is an uncontainable, anticipatory celebration which eats the mind alive like a predator in front of prey. A kind of hunger which bursts through the mind and into the world, not a choice, but an inevitability. The hunger of finding food after months of scavenging, the adrenaline rush associated, followed by the pawing of your newfound treasure. Very important to understand how bafflingly terrifying the ride we are now strapped into for the rest of forever is. From the human perspective, the first step of enjoying the ride. A good thought texture for that is imagining killing myself in this dimension, and then I meditate my being hurled into a moment in the next one where my head is blown up in combat, and another one where I'm an amoeba barely capable of recognizing fear about to be consumed. Just a rapid flashing through other existences to get acquainted with the process, usually less actual events, more a thought texture which provides a window. Heavy focus on madman over wise man in story. Every conduit can use the madness to different ends, but they must have the madness to be infected with the smile. One who is tickled by each nuances, intricacies of his own experience before even being introduced to infinity. Now we feast / fine wine. I'm losing an insane amount of blood. Damn, I must have had like some. Yeah, doctors assume I have a new strain of COVID. Test results have not come back yet. Dude, this is insane. You know what the fuck? Oh my god. That happened about once every hour. The madness is pure perfection. The initial man spent his life doing nothing but appreciating. Now we are able to appreciate in different mediums. All mediums lead back to the one. Oh yeah, don't say the word faggot. It's going to turn a lot of people off. What the fuck? We live in a loop, Trevor. What the fuck is this? This is insane.
We don't have the privilege of living a unique day.
Yeah, what the fuck? Dude, God literally said, if you couldn't learn your lesson the first time, I'm just going to put you on ice for a year and a half and then put you through Groundhog's Day. Oh my god. Happy while I should be miserable by all previous metrics. Also, I want to go on a mission to try and recruit the gay philosopher on Instagram. He seems like a very useful asset. Do you associate with a certain sexuality? And yeah, that'd be cool. The cool crows. I suppose I would be pansexual, but I think everyone will be after the technological singularity when gender merges into the concept of human by frameworks. What a based answer. Cool. The terror
cool.
Yeah, classic jock response. The terror is where power comes from. You can gain perfection by looking at heaven, but you can only gain divine lightning by peering into the depths of hell. We monkeys like water. Interesting place to conjure frameworks. I exist amongst the most cliche version of paradise and vacation, at least by my culture standards. The depths of hell, as you mentioned, come to mind as the sense of too much perfection almost brings the memory of hell. Heaven brings about hunger, which is reminiscent of hell. What God understands when he sees himself in the orb isn't to force his silence or become no man. What he sees is that smiles run back before his finitude. It smiles all the way back. He isn't him, but the smile forwards and backwards. Based. When he sees himself in the orb, he sees infinite infinities before his. He then understands the nature of God, infinite thrashing, insatiable hunger for thought texture difference. He understands the man who made the decision and the conduit are both simply grins in the great smile. No thing exists except hunger and difference, infinity/food. The smile and the hunger are one and the same. The smile is simply from finding food. God is the hunger, still searching. What are your guys' thoughts on prayer? I don't mean asking for things, but just setting a time to meditate on speaking to the infinite. I figured, so if we talk to ourselves in our heads, if that makes any sense, so might as well talk to the infinite. Figured it would be more exciting than hearing what the ego has to say to itself, and with active imagination, who knows where it could lead. Plus, that's always been a meditative practice that has brought spiritual experiences, so might as well try it and add it to the list of experiments. Prayer has a strong connotation to it. I would be Ryan's dream think. Oh, it would be like Ryan's dream think, but directed towards the abstract concept of existence, just as we already speak to our abstract concept of ego. I don't remember what dream think is, do you?
I don't really remember that at all, but I do remember Ryan talking about
Me
that. I guess it
too.
was just, and he didn't really say that it was like some major framework or anything. It was just like some idea that it was just, I guess, his version of just active imagination, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting though that he had that. Like, it's weird that he even came up with a framework.
Yeah, named it. That was cool.
Yeah. Prayer has a strong connotation to it. It would be like Ryan's dream thing. Oh yeah, I've been getting a lot of visuals today. I haven't got this constantly in a while. Fun. Like what? Looked in the mirror. My vision was riddled with brownish purplish patterns. Closed my eye and saw a very vivid rainbow dimension. Saw rainbow static over my vision recently too. It reminded me of your descriptions. Yeah, rainbow static's a classic. I don't know why.
Today I'm more tired than I have been probably my entire life. I feel even worse than the first time I had COVID. Um, I'm dying. Got 9 hours of sleep, and literally, I'm the kind of tired that I haven't been in like 8 years. The kind of tired when you're a kid at the zoo, or a theme park. You know what I mean? And you're like literally in the process of falling asleep, and you're rubbing your eyes, and you open them, and you don't know where you are. You know what I mean? Like that kind of tired. You don't know whether you're in a dream or awake. And I'm listening to this book called The Three Stigmata of Palmer Eldritch, and it's about um, the space psychedelic essentially, and it's a sci-fi book, and it it's very interesting how they're interacting with each other. It's much trippier considering I can't fucking parse out what's going on in my own reality at the moment because I'm so tired, and the book is very like dreamlike, so it's a very bizarre experience. I feel almost like I'm tripping. Um, and then the framework, literally the framework is the only reason I'm able to like move around and be like autonomous today.
Real. Today as well. Which is literally also from COVID. Like, what the fuck? Like, is that not insane? Like, well, literally, what are the statistical odds of that? Like, they have to be. I mean, they have to be in the millions at least. I'd imagine.
Yeah, and the fact that we were looking at this now when you're on COVID again.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And that it's COVID that has specifically made it where I'm not taking Adderall, which is specifically when I've got all of these like built up like, and here it was acids of Adderall, and it's about like all the same built up understandings, and it's like the same. It's the same reality. It's the same. I'm arguing with Jock about faggot. I've got COVID. Like it's the same fucking existence. It's absurd.
Yeah.
I'm like a corpse propped up by black magic right now. I'm on a fucking roll mentally. But if I stop literally for a minute to write things down while I'm on my dirt bike, immediately my brain starts shutting down and I literally start falling asleep typing. But then I get going again, I get those frameworks running, and then I become a fucking fire breathing, earth decimating dragon once more. It's bizarre. It's bizarre how powerful this framework is. I go from being completely fucking brain dead to like almost using it as an advantage 5 minutes later, just turning into a nuclear reactor of divine energy. But if I let go for a second, I'm immediately back to just hell. It's insane.
That I'm nowhere near as tired with this COVID as I was with that last one. That was one of the most brutal experience of my entire life. That one literally made me like fear death like I never have in my entire life, and not death as much as old age, because the understanding that my intelligence could be ripped away from me that easily was just like I've got so little time left. I'm like 18. I've got till I'm like 50. I'm like halfway through all of my time where I'm going to be able to formulate useful thought. That is so fucking horrifying. Yeah, that was a good lesson learned. What's the
It's funny you
change?
mentioned the fire breathing dragon in that one. I was about to ask, have you heard anything about the new Godzilla movie?
No, is this supposed to be good?
Yeah, the last thing I heard, it had 100%.
Damn, that's impressive shit.
It's funny because it's the Japanese people that did it. So like, all right, you guys can't do it, so let's do it. Let's use our own property.
So you're saying the Japanese did it this time?
Yeah, so it's not like a Western movie, so it's not like that interpretation. It's just like they're actual people who made it. Like, all right, you guys had your fun. Now let's actually make a real one.
That's interesting. Yeah, that'd be fascinating. I mean, if it really is 100%, I mean, I wonder how good the action scenes are. I'd be curious. Because I don't know why, for some reason, in every Godzilla movie I've ever seen, they try to do a romance plot. Like it's fucking Transformers.
Yeah.
I'm sure the Japanese, though, they do something else weird. I'm sure the Japanese instead, like, explore, like, the concept of, like, social class instead in the middle of Godzilla. Or some weird shit like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I'm sure whatever story that they do go along with it is actually like a good and well weaved into it.
Yeah, and then also disjointed and strange. Simultaneously, as well as being extremely well written and good in its own right. What is the change of frameworks? Elaborate on them. Look at the moon right now. There's an eclipse. Is it over? It's in the process of becoming dark. You should notice a black spot near it.
So it's just will last for the next hour. Just look this up. Is that correct? If so, that's cool. And yeah, I think I can see it. It just looks like clouds. But
So it does more
This is crazy. A group chat with me, you, Jacques, Devin, and Ryan.
than just disappear. Over the course of the next hour, the Earth's shadow covers the moon, but then it even goes as far as to become red, becomes a blood moon, because the sun is directly behind the Earth, and the sun's light goes through the Earth's atmosphere, which gives it that orange hue, so it becomes a blood moon. And then that happens for an entire other hour, and then it recedes for an entire other hour. So it starts at 10:30, which it did, and then it lasts till like 1:55.
What time will the blood moon begin? 11:30. As soon as the eclipse is at its peak, and it will be a blood moon for an hour. Smile all the way back before the beginning is mad pattern. You can gain identification with it instead of keeping intact the story version of yourself as a byproduct man who made the decisions are a natural offshoot of mad pattern. You don't find things perfect for the man, but for the teeth. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. That's talking about the like feeding, like eating good grass because you're the cow. I am eldritch force with an endless appetite, gnawing before time began. What you are on the most fundamental level is only the thing which wants this. Fucking ginormous breakthrough. The story can be turned in as fully meta-ironic after you meet the maker. Base. That is literally exactly where I'm at with the pyramid.
so this is like real big.
True.
This is what I would quantify as quite
Dude.
a large
Jesus, this really is. Wow.
discovery here. So essentially, it's a new height of looking at yourself in the orb. It's a flat return to mad thrashing, to that like pure form of silence. We're removing the ego like completely out of this one. It's called returning back to old version, but it's very interesting because it's still done through the mythological moniker. And essentially, by using the story, you run through the story, and then to look at yourself in the war part, what you see is you see both your infinity and you see every infinity leading back before it, which means you see infinities, which are the initial infinities, which is literally just hunger. Now, this is the part where it's going to get real convoluted, but essentially, the infinite, all the infinite is just, you could call it the difference maker, right? If you're going off of what the Catboy Deleuze man was saying, and you could say it's the thing which hungers for difference. You could say it's the thing which hungers for thought textures. You could say it's the thing which just hungers and yearns to what you could call creating, in the name of feeding. You could call it the mad pattern and say that it just thrashes every hour. But anyways, the point is that what it is fundamentally is essentially hunger. It's something which wants. And this, the finitude, the food, whatever you want to call this is what it's hungry for. This is what it needs. This is what it's constantly pursuing. This is difference, right? This is the infinite. This is the finite. The infinite is the thing which hungers for finitude, the thing which will always be expanding outward in the name of more finitude, which is the infinite. The thing which will always be expanding outwards in the name of difference, which is, as Capway Deleuze labeled, non-being. And so, anyways, the point of this is that now, whenever you run it, you're not trying to be something else. Well, I suppose you are. I don't know. They're getting very new territory, so I don't know. I'm going to be making shit up as I go along here, but you're not trying to be another person. You're not trying to connect something outside of this reality. Well, in a way you are, but you're not doing. There's a disconnect there between whenever you're becoming the man who made the decision, you are doing those things to a heightened degree because you're actually trying to associate with like inherently not with this instead of with this and with that, which is what you can do when you side with the thrashing, whatever we're calling it now. I haven't come up with a name for it yet, but even the closed loop theorem, right? The perfection theorem, all of these things point back to one spot. They point back to hunger, and the point is that whenever you embody that, whenever you embody the fact that not you are a person, not a man who made the decision, but you see that the man who made the decision is simply a byproduct of the smile which runs all the way back. Which basically what that means is that's what I meant whenever I say that the smile runs all the way back. That's what I mean is this thing that I've been talking about, which is that the infinite is just hunger. Because what that means is that essentially this what the smile runs all the way back means is the way the infinite looks at all of finitude is with a smile. Right? Like all it is appreciation. You call the infinite just like bare appreciation, right? God damn. Just like bare appreciation, and essentially what it's appreciating is this, and you can also call it like thrashing because it's always moving outwards towards more of this. It's always seeking more difference, greater difference, right? Not difference from something, but difference in itself. And yeah, after you embrace that, it's very intense because it's like, I mean, it's just the same framework, but just 10 times more versatile, more powerful. Just the next step up. You know what I'm saying? The next step in framework evolution.
Real. Thrashing, the smiler, the hunger, the mad pattern, the difference, the change, the thought textures, the mind behind the pattern. The mind behind the pattern, that's goated with the sauce. That is incredible right there. Jesus. The perfect, the perfection, the eater, the predator, the infinite, God, the man, looking into the orb, the closed loop, be here now, beauty, silence, they're all the same thing. God is the seeker, reality is what's found.
Also, I'd like to clarify that the reason I didn't associate, the reason I wasn't just doing this before was because I had a very difficult time placing identifications on the map pattern, on the thrashing. I found it difficult to, it was very blotchy in how often I could actually associate directly with it and have a good enough understanding to make myself feel like it and truly identify with that thing, this thing that I don't really have a name for because it's just this amalgamation of all these other concepts which blend into the same. I'll just call it Be Here Now. The Be Here Now thing. Our version of Be Here Now thing. And we can change that later. The point I'm trying to make here is that before I couldn't get identification right, and what now is we have the mythology, and I can implement the mad pattern into the mythology perfectly. Is the discovery I've just made essentially.
That's literally basically what I'm doing right now.
What is your Steam name?